All right, fight fans. Teofimo Lopez defends his super lightweight title over Steve Claggett by unanimous decision. Like a lot of you, I picked Lopez in this fight. Let me get to the pros and the cons. Let me start with Steve Claggett. The pros would be the pressure. He did a pretty good job of putting pressure on Teofimo from the opening bell. It was pretty clear that that was the way that he thought he could win the fight, and that by putting pressure on Teofimo, he could stop his counter punching. I like the fact that he was closing the distance. Pretty much, Steve stayed in the phone book, right there in the phone book. Excuse me, the phone box. He stayed close to Teofimo because I believe that he was hoping to catch him with something, maybe one of those shots to the body and hurt him. Speaking of which, I like the left to the body. He did a good job of trying to land that left to the body. That seemed to be his best punch. I also like the jab. He was using his jab, I believe, to try to keep Lopez in front of him. As for the cons, I didn't like the fact that because of his aggressiveness, he kept his head right in front of Lopez, which caused him to get hit with a lot of those right uppercuts. And his connection rate began to go down as the fight went on. As for Teofimo Lopez, the pros would be I thought he did a good job of handling the pressure from the first round on. He looked a little bit uncomfortable for part of the first round, but definitely by the second round, I felt that Lopez did a good job of handling Steve's pressure. The uppercut. Teofimo realized that not only could he land an uppercut, but the uppercut will give him distance so he can move away and get his back off of the ropes. I also have to give him credit for his counterpunching. Steve was putting pressure on him to stop him from counterpunching, but Teofimo found ways to land and throw his counterpunches, and I like the ring generalship. I thought that Teofimo, in my opinion, controlled the whole fight. Let's talk about the fight a little bit. As I mentioned earlier, the first round, Steve, I thought that was his best round. He came out putting pressure on Teofimo, making him uncomfortable, and pretty much making it known that that's how he wanted the fight to go, that he was going to smother him, smother his shots, and try to stop him from landing his counter punches. But pretty much from the second round through the 12th round, it was all Lopez. He, as I mentioned earlier, did a good job of handling that pressure. He still was getting his counter shots off. A lot of those shots, to be honest, was landing on Steve's left shoulder and hitting his gloves. But I still think that Lopez did a good job of trying to keep Steve off of him and trying to give a little bit of distance so he could get some type of offense going. Unlike Lopez's last fight, he definitely had more offense going in this fight. Pretty much, fight fans, that's how the fight went for the next 11 rounds. Get to the end of the fight, and Lopez wins by unanimous decision. So let's talk about what happens from here. Lopez mentioned that he has his eye on welterweight because he believes that may be a better weight for his body. My opinion is that I don't think he's anywhere near needing to be a welterweight. My main reason for saying that is because he didn't show any power in this fight with this guy. This guy was landing some punches, but they weren't hard enough punches where I felt that Lopez couldn't open up on him more. And he really didn't seem to hurt Steve in this fight. Now, if you saw something that I didn't see, let me know. But I don't really remember an instance from any of those right uppercuts or those looping right hands where he hurt Steve and he made him back off. If he can't hurt a guy at super lightweight, I don't see him putting enough fear and hurt on a guy at welterweight to keep a guy off of him. Let's say a guy like Terrence Crawford, who's at the top of the welterweight division. I just don't see Lopez being able to beat a guy like that without power. It's not all about power, but you have to have some power to keep a guy in check, to keep him to make him afraid to come in like Steve did and just stand right in the pocket like that. What about you, fight fans? What do you want to see Teofimo Lopez do? Do you want to see him move up to welterweight, or do you maybe, like me, want to see him stay as super lightweight and fight a few more fighters there? And as far as his performance, I actually just saw something where a few people, a few reporters said that they were not at all impressed with Lopez's performance. But I'm on the other side. I actually was impressed with his performance. I think that they're not, the reason that they're saying it is because they're not giving Claggett enough credit. I think that Claggett came to fight. He wasn't afraid. He wasn't afraid to stand in the pocket with Lopez. He wasn't afraid to put the pressure on him. So I believe that that is what caused Lopez to have a, if you will, a lackluster performance. All right, fight fans, if you haven't already, like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so we can keep talking boxing. I thank you all for taking a few minutes out of your morning, afternoon, evening to listen to me talk boxing. That's all for now. Holla at y'all later.